every Maine business adds value to our state. Diversity adds strength and beauty to our communities. We each have different journeys with a common goal: to prosper and contribute to a vibrant, thriving future in Maine, all to help strengthen the economy. Greenlight Maine and Bangor Savings Bank present Elevating Voices, a celebration of Maine's diverse business community.
We met up with Mariama Jallo on Forest Avenue in Portland. We learned quickly that when she left home in the Gambia more than 10 years ago, her goal was to open a business one day. She just wasn't sure what it would be.
Seems like a nice little community here with all these businesses.
Yes, everyone is supportive, everyone checking one another, so it's been really nice.
After a lot of research, she landed on a one-stop shop that would meet all your beauty needs.
I'm the owner of Mariama's Beauty Supply. We do hair braiding, we sell wigs, we sell extensions, and hair products.
And what made you decide to do this type of business?
We always had a business back home. My mom always had a small business going on, like selling in the market, and eventually we own a store at the market. So I always grew up doing business. I started helping my mom at the age of 15, and I helped her every Saturday and Sunday. So I had that in me. And then when I came to the US in 2012, in January, I started working. I started working in March. And then I was like, I want to start my own store that I had back home, like a grocery store where we can get all our groceries, like African market and something like that. But I had that, there's an organization called CEI, and they help people to set up businesses and they give advices. And then I had to call George Scribner. And then when I called him, he set up a meeting with me. And then I went there, we did the meeting, and I told him, this is what I want to do. This is what we have back home, and I want to bring that to Maine. And then we talked about it, and then he said, there's a lot of grocery stores in Portland, like African grocery stores, and then the community by then cannot support 4 grocery stores that sells the same thing. So I had to think about something that we don't have in the state of Maine, that I can bring here, that people can use, that we don't have here. So I called John, and then I traveled to Canada. I went to a wig store, and then I bought a wig. And then I was like, this is something that I can do in Maine. So I talked to the lady. I remember she was from Ghana. I asked her a little bit, how did she started and all of that, and she told me. And then I told her, I'm from Maine. I want to start something like this in Maine. So I came back, I called John. I said, I saw something that I think will work in Maine, because there was none of that in Portland. And then he was like, okay, we can set up a meeting and meet. And then we met. And then I told him my plan, and he's like, okay, this is a good idea. And and then I told him that I want a hair salon with the store. And then I want to do braiding. I want to give opportunity to people that are coming here that have the skills to do hair braiding. They don't need much English to sit down and do someone's hair. So he said, yeah, that's a good idea. But at that time, you can't do hair braiding without having the full cosmetology license. So he told me that. But for me, coming from Gambia, we never need that. We never need like a cosmetology license for you to do hair braiding, because we grow up with that. Like at the age of 10, you can start doing your siblings' hair. So I was thinking that was the same thing over here too. And then he told me that, no, you have to have a fully cosmetology license in order to do hair braiding. And then a bill came in Augusta that was a hearing about hair braiding. And then I would have to write and then explain to them, show them that we don't need all this chemical in doing hair braiding. It's basically your natural hair and the comb and the person who's doing it. So I put that in writing, and then I explain it to them, the bill pass. Then I have to come and look for space to open my hair store. So I went back again, we had a meeting, and then now we have to set up to find a space and all of that. And then I went back, we did that, we looked online until I find the space, and then I start. So there's some challenges on that too, because I don't know how to, like the licensing, the cash register, the tax and all of that. That we don't have any sales tax back home. So I have to learn all of that during this whole thing. So I went back there, we get the lease signed, and I had to go to the city to get the license. And then he had to come here and teach me how to use the cash register. Then we did all of that. So I had these rooms that I was renting to people that came, like immigrants like me that came to Maine, that you don't need much English to do hair braiding. And people have all these skills back home that they come with. It's just the English part of it that they cannot show their skills. So here is something that I can offer to people that they don't need much English to do it. So these people have something to do, and then they're earning honest living, that they don't need to go to like college or whatever to get that degree to do that hair and earn their honest living, or get a job that require much English, because they've been doing this since back home. So they can do it here and support themselves and pay taxes to this country.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so you single-handedly got the law changed.
Yes.
So cosmetologists can do braiding without having a license.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Good for you.
Yeah, I did all. We did that, and then it passed, and now I have Mariama's beauty supply.
Working with Mariama is great. I actually started working with Mariama about 2 months ago. I used to come in as a client and buy hair from here and go and do my own hair. Recently, I had just graduated from Empire Beauty School, so I had actually came in one day after I graduated, and she was like, "Oh, I'm looking for a stylist," and and I was like, "I'm looking for a job as well." So it was kind of great. I needed her, she needs me, so it's kind of really working out. I love it because hair is my passion. I've been braiding since I was 8 years old. I grew up in the family that is mainly my mother, my aunties, they all did hair. So for me, it's a passion, something I grew up with. But what I loved the most is that the result. Whatever hair service that I perform is that my clients, at the end of the day, they're happy, because my main job is to make them happy.
It's so admirable that you moved to Maine. You could have gotten a job anywhere, but you had your heart set on having your own business.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because I grew up with that. My mom is a very hardworking lady. She saw us, you have to work hard. She saw us, believe in yourself and work hard. You will make it. Just do something that you like doing. My mom is a lady that never waited for my dad. She will do everything. She will pay our schools, do everything. She never waited for anybody. So I grew up with that. I never, my mom taught us, you have to work hard. You have to. So that I have that in me.
When you decided to move to Maine, what made you choose Maine over other states?
I like Maine. Maine is peaceful. Maine is peaceful and it's easy going, and it's less crime in Maine. And you can know everyone. I can go today to the governor's office. It's so easy. Everything in Maine is just simple, and people are nice. I travel a lot. I travel within the United States a lot, but I really love Maine.
Bangor Savings Bank, committed to investing in its employees, customers, and communities to help create a stronger Northern New England. Bangor Savings Bank. You matter more.
Hannaford Supermarkets, celebrating the diversity of its employees, customers, and communities, and committed to fostering a welcoming environment. Together, they're greater than groceries. Learn more at hannaford.com.
Martins Point Generations Advantage, offering comprehensive Medicare Advantage plans. Information at martinspoint.org.
So what advice would you give to other people who have decided to move to Maine to open a business?
I would just tell them to know that everything is possible in life. If I can do it, coming from a small village called Mariama in the Gambia, everyone could do it.
Nice. Was there a moment where you knew this business was going to work out for you?
Yes. The Mariama's Beauty Supply is the biggest hair store in Portland, Maine, in the whole state. I have people coming from everywhere, Bangor, Waterville, a lot of places. So yeah, and people are always telling me, people even coming from out of state, they're telling me, oh, I'm glad you have this. I'm glad we can come here and do our hair and get our hair. We feel comfortable, and you know, it makes me feel happy, like every day when I come in, when people are telling me their stories, and I'm glad you opened this, I'm happy this is here. We don't have anything like this in Maine, so I'm just happy to hear that every day.
I grew up in Maine on Monjay Hill, born and raised right here. We never had a store like this growing up, so I always had to do what I could do, going to Sally's Beauty Supply, figuring it out for myself, and then when she opened up, I was one of the first customers. I came in, I got all of the gels and creams and oils I needed for my hair, and I have braids in now, but I usually have a nice long wash and set that I can do myself at home with products that I get from here. So it's been awesome.
What are some of your best-selling items?
The hair extensions. Yeah.
Why do people like those?
They use it daily with braiding, doing cornrows, box braids, which we get called every day for box braids. If you ask anybody, they're like, you go there, within 2 hours, your hair is done. And normally it takes 7 hours to get the box braids done. Yeah.
So you guys are really fast.
Yeah, we are.
So what's been your greatest obstacle to growth?
I did have some challenges in the beginning because there was not a lot of us here in Maine. But now the population is growing. So that was the hardest part, that not having enough people at that time when I was starting.
When did you see that changing in Maine? So you didn't have enough customers, and now you see it growing.
Yeah. In 2018, 2017, 18, it seemed like a lot of people are moving to Maine, a lot of immigrants.
What are your long-term goals for this business?
I wanted to grow more than this, open more Mariama's Beauty Supply stores from Maine to Bangor to Lewiston, to everywhere that people need, that they don't have to drive far away. So I'm hoping and praying that this thing will be more than this. It will be more than a beauty supply. It will be more than what I'm expecting right now.
Well, thank you so much. You are amazing. You have accomplished so much in such a short time, and your store is absolutely beautiful.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to you guys for giving me the opportunity to tell my story. And thank you to the state of Maine. And thank you to CEI. Thank you to my mom. I always say big thank you to my mom. She is the main thing. This is the main person behind me all the time. Since I was a kid up to now, she's always encouraging me, and she always tells me work hard and believe in yourself. So I will say big thank you to her, and big thank you to everyone that support me along the way. Thank you.
Puritan Medical Products has been manufacturing in Guilford and Pittsfield, Maine for more than a century. They responded quickly to the pandemic, shipping test swabs for people worldwide. Recognized for innovation and focus on the future. Puritan Medical Products.
Albin, Randall, and Bennett, committed to providing accounting solutions to Greenlight Maine startups, working with businesses and organizations that operate locally and nationally. ARBCPA.com. First Park, a 285-acre business park located in Oakland, Maine, offering fiber internet, 3-phase power, and pre-permitted sites for businesses to start or expand. Details at firstpark.com.
Mandy Levine holds a lot of titles. She's an attorney, a business owner, a consultant to companies small and large. And to most people she meets, she's all of this and more.
You know, Mandy is not only a friend, she's a mentor to me. Like, I've known her for all of these years, and whenever I have like questions or I'm running, you know, against something, I bounce things by her, and she's been a great advisor to me over these years. You know, she brought some training to a group of employees at HR at LL. I've known Mandy for a little over 7 years now, and she helped me rethink the way I think. And that is actually, she is so good at this. Like, she challenged the way that we talk and we see things in a very respectful way. And if I have one wish, I would say I wish that everybody in Maine gets the chance to sit down with Mandy for even 30 minutes, because I'm sure they're going to leave that conversation thinking a little bit differently than when they entered it.
We sat down with Mandy for our 30 minutes in LL Bean's new corporate headquarters, and Omar was absolutely right.
So I try to make conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion more accessible and more inclusive to organizations. So I have the tremendous privilege to work with organizations, large, small, public, private, helping facilitate conversations about differences, helping spark conversations about creating inclusive workplaces. So that's what I've been doing on my own for the past couple of years.
So are you like holding exercises? Are they interactive workshops? Just tell us a little bit more detail.
So I have both consulting work, and then I also do workshops. And so that is a huge portion of the work that I do. Is employers have me come in. I have about, I would say, probably 8 to 10 different classes that I routinely facilitate, and they are highly interactive. So it's a combination of storytelling and polls and exercises, and really getting folks to acknowledge, without it feeling shaming, acknowledging that we as human beings are inherently biased, and let's explore together what some of those biases are. Really normalizing conversations around bias. I think the word bias has had a really bad reputation for a long time, and we often associate the word bias with that bully in the playground who's overtly beating somebody up and using some sort of slur against them. And normalizing bias and normalizing implicit bias, specifically these unconscious narratives and associations that pop into our head.
What made you decide to do this work?
I think I was drawn to this work at a very early age. I was one of a really tiny handful of Jewish families in Auburn, Maine growing up, so I was always very aware of my difference, always very aware of having a lot of traditions and history that was very different from most of my friends. And when I was a little girl, I was about 10 years old, had this very defining moment where my family was threatened, and a neighbor of ours made a really horrible anti-Semitic comment towards my family and threatened our lives. And it was a really defining moment for me, where all the stories that my parents had shared with me about anti-Semitism and hatred of others became very real for me. And it led to me being tremendously curious, even as a kid, about differences and our personal identities and the cultures we inhabit. And so I think from an early age, it was really rooted in me to be very empathetic to folks feeling different, and how we can sometimes treat each other really badly, and how we can often feel really threatened by people who are different. And so I've been incredibly fortunate to have a few different roles in this diversity, equity, and inclusion space, where I work really hard to help create workforces where people are not only accepting of differences, but really embracing of differences and recognizing the tremendous beauty and value add that differences bring to our workplaces.
Well, I was going to say that must have been very traumatic, and it has stuck with you because here you are making your life's work out of it.
Mm-hmm. And I actually very purposely share the entirety of the story. That was kind of the quick version of it, but I share the entirety of the story in the beginning of every single one of my classes about bias and prejudice, because I think it shares a little window into why the work not only resonates with me personally, why it resonates with me professionally, but also because I don't think that my story is special, and I think that it connects with a lot of people with whom I get to interact, where they too have been othered, they too have been met with scorn or distrust or bigotry because of who they are, who they inherently are as a person, or because of what they look like. So it creates, I think, a bridge between me and other folks. So I do share that story.
Yeah, everybody can relate on some level, whether it's not themselves, but somebody that they know.
Sure. Exactly. It might not be them, but it might be someone they work with or someone they love or a neighbor of theirs. And so it helps kind of cultivate that connection and empathy a little bit.
I think that Mandy brings a level of personal commitment to the work that she does that shines through all of her activities. She is someone who brings people together and inspires everyone with whom she works to really think deeply about who they are and what they're bringing to the table, and also how they can grow and learn. And I think her commitment to learning just allows everyone space to not be perfect, to not know all the answers, but also to keep seeking them. She combines a strength with purpose and with kindness in a way that I think is incredibly unique. And she's just such a blessing to everyone who gets the chance to interact with her, both socially and also professionally.
People are using diversity, equity, inclusion. You keep hearing those three words. What do they really mean?
When I get that question a lot, and I think it's a really important question to ask, because sometimes we go 100 miles per hour into these conversations, and I think it's important to slow down and to have a common framework in terms of what we're talking about. So diversity boiled down means differences. It means the myriad attributes of identity that each one of us possesses. So we're talking about things like race and color and national origin and religion and age and disability status, veteran status, socioeconomic status, all the differences each one of us has. That's diversity. So it's the variety of attributes. Then we talk about inclusion, and inclusion and diversity are often used interchangeably, but they're actually two very distinct concepts, and just because you accomplish one doesn't mean you accomplish the other. So inclusion is creating an environment where people can bring their authentic self to work every day, where you don't have to hide or cover or shield some central aspect of who you are, and you don't feel the pressure to assimilate in order to have a sense of belonging. Your differences are valued, and you can really highlight and be comfortable being who you are in the workplace.
And it's okay to be different.
And it's okay to be different. It's not that your differences are tolerated, right? Like I can tolerate a stomach bug. It's because your differences are actually welcomed and embraced, and you can be your full self. So just because you've got the diversity in the workplace, that you bring a bunch of people into your workplace from different backgrounds and experiences, certainly does not mean that those folks are going to feel included. So you have to work really hard to accomplish both of those goals. And then equity is the concept of recognizing that all of us have different starting points in life. And we used to talk a lot about equality, that I'm going to give out the same resources, the same supports to everybody, and we're all going to succeed. Equity is recognizing in a more nuanced way that we all have different starting points. And I was born with certain advantages and different privileges that allow me to start 5 steps ahead of a lot of other people. And so equity is moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach and having a more individualized approach and giving folks the resources and support they need specifically in order to succeed.
One of the reasons I love working with Mandy is, as we know, some of these topics are really difficult, right? When we talk about race, a lot of people in Maine have never talked about race. And Mandy and I know that you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it to move forward with it. Because so often people are afraid to say something and they become quiet. They're afraid they're going to use the wrong language or term. So we just say it. Just tell us what you want to know. Be inquisitive. Be brave. So we teach a lot about the importance of, if you're curious about it and your intent is positive, it's always going to turn out, even if you use the wrong word. But Mandy creates a safe space. She has fun with it, but mostly she just has courage herself of just jumping into topics like race, jumping into topics like preferred pronoun, talking about privilege. And again, we jump into it, and it's amazing how after a little bit of time, employees start feeling really comfortable. And then when the conversation becomes richer and deeper, the impact that we're having on our culture becomes greater.
So why now? Why are so many companies reaching out to you for your work?
I think it is really a perfect storm of a couple different elements, one of which is on the national scale. I think since the murder of George Floyd, there's really been a racial reckoning where individuals and employers really want to do better and want to start having these really hard and important conversations about differences and about racial equity. So I think it is the unprecedented moment in time we are living through right now that has really driven these conversations around DEI. So my advice is really to take it in small and realistic steps. And if you want to be a DEI champion in 6 months, you're not likely going to succeed because there is so much work that needs to be done. So I encourage folks to really be slow and steady, create those action-oriented, realistic goals over a longer time frame, a 3 to 5 year window of these are the things we want to roll out and accomplish within our organization, because these sorts of changes don't happen overnight. We're talking about personal change, we're talking about organizational change, so you have to be patient, but goal setting is really important.
Northern Light Health, because we're all Mainers, and making healthcare work for you includes providing care to more Mainers. Innovations in ways you can access care when and where you need us. northernlighthealth.org.
Maine Technology Institute, offering grants, loans, and equity investments to help support Maine's innovation economy and committed to supporting new ideas with potential to grow. Visit mainetechnology.org.
FAME came along at a time when we really needed somebody to believe in our mission.
It's so nice to have somebody actually try to understand what we're doing.
FAME helps Maine businesses and lenders get to yes for their financing needs.
Thank you, FAME.
Thank you, FAME.
Thank you, FAME.
There are so many of our neighbors here who bring elements of other cultures and who are making significant contributions to our economy and to our ways of life, and they've just become a part of the fabric of Maine. And so to be able to tell those stories and meet our neighbors and see folks that are contributing so much to Maine moving forward is a really important place for us to be.
So happy to be on it, and then you guys giving me the opportunity to hear, to share my story, and then for people to hear my story, where I come from, and how I started, and how I get here.
I feel like there's not a lot of great surprises in life, and this was one of them. So just I'm very humbled and grateful to be surrounded by all these amazing people.